Entering autonomous mode.
Back in 2016, I got the chance to build a concept car interior, and today I want to share that. I can talk about the build, I cannot talk about the enabling technologies that would actually make it work, but I can still share some pretty cool stuff. Right before senior year, I was planning to just cruise into graduation. And then I got a call from a professor who explained that there was an automotive OEM wanting our school to partner with a design college. And working with artists on user experience stuff is kind of a different task for a mechanical engineering master's candidate. And my resume stuck out because I had the word art on it, which admittedly this video is not demonstrating. But I was glad I had the right keyword, because suddenly I had the opportunity to do my dream project. And when I say dream project, I mean car was my third word. I would sit out as a kid and just yell car every time a car passed. So I had to say yes.
No, you didn't.
And just like that, I'd agreed to do a master's, the biggest engineering project I'd ever done, and a year of distance with my girlfriend. The first year, the project was led by the designers, and they described this initial work as the fuzzy front end. The prompt was simply to design the user experience of a 2030 car. That was it. So they had to turn that into something concrete. And to help with this, they used the design thinking process. Now, the first step of this is empathize, and it's kind of hard to empathize with someone who's living way in the future. They spent a lot of time identifying trends, trying to project them into the future, and then paint this picture of a potential user living in that future. By the end of that first year, we had an established key user with her core values and a bunch of things that she would be doing with her car. We also had some pretty renders. But what we didn't have was a design. And that's where the project got thrown over to my team. My team was my professor, one other master's student, and me. And looking at the wild reconfigurable interior and window display UI that had been imagined by the design students, this was going to be a challenge. I called our crazy to-do list the Wall of Doom, and we pitched the need for additional resources. We ended up getting two of the designers from the first year as interns, and they were able to create more refined sketches of the interior surfacing. We got the OEM's fab shop to support making the seat, because it was a really complicated thing and I cannot make a seat. Then we got a contract engineering firm on board to design the crazy lifting roof, and we got the art and technology department of our school to help with the UI graphics. The output of each supplier, as well as the contribution from our two interns, had to be sequenced to match the order of the assembly. So we were organizing all of these moving pieces, all these different people, while designing plenty of the components ourselves. As a student-led project, there was so much we were clueless about. A regular car is designed using section views that helped specify the position of components relative to the occupant. Instead, I remember sitting in the 80/20 frame we'd built with a piece of foam board going, this spot looks good for a dash. They wanted the floor to light up in different ways, so we routed channels in a piece of plywood, accidentally dropped that piece of plywood off in the middle of an intersection, scraped the plywood back up, glued optical fiber laser wire into the channels, covered the entire thing in resin, failed to mix that first layer properly so it was still tacky, covered the entire thing in resin again, and then put a vinyl skin over it all so the light could shine through. They wanted all the windows to turn into displays, so they wanted a steering wheel that could disappear into the dash. So I designed this whole thing. It has like servos and a linear actuator to pull the whole wheel into this dash. It seamlessly kind of folds such that the top part of the handles are flush. The geometry of this was kind of difficult to do, and then I added an Arduino, programmed the whole thing, and added a foot pedal that also folds for good measure. We wanted a twin-wide seat to rotate within the cabin for this fireside chat mode, and you can't really rotate a double-wide seat around a single pivot point. So we programmed this whole thing to be orchestrated so that as it rotated, the pivot point actually moved along a linear slide, just so the seat didn't cause any collisions as it did its rotation thing. By the end of this project, I was living exclusively on coffee and Soylent. The whole project wrapped up with a demonstration to the OEM's executives. Like, the president was there. This was going to be a really big deal. So here I was looking at my Arduino-based prototype thinking, oh god, I hope this works reliably. We were seriously down to the last minute with this build. I remember cutting myself while making the A-pillars, which are these three 3D printed parts over an aluminum frame that we were hand covering in fabric. And I was sitting in the ER getting stitched up, and my main thought was, damn, now I'm 3 hours behind. A day or two later, we had our time slot, sat the executives down, and walked them through some user experiences that this design could enable. So essentially, the whole build was just a communication tool, but actually sitting and experiencing a feature such as having a vehicle coach you to improve on a speech, or having a vehicle configure itself to be like a party karaoke environment, those are things that are communicated best by seeing that it could be possible, as opposed to just reading a PowerPoint. And in the end, I'm just really proud that we were able to get so many of these user experience elements functional enough to be able to showcase. Like I said, this has been under embargo for a while, so I'm happy to be able to finally share it. It was my first experience with project management, and it kickstarted my career in the automotive industry. So let me know how you think it turned out. If you like it, you hate it, this was definitely a learning experience for everyone involved. And definitely a group project. So I tried to highlight my part, but a lot of people were involved, lots of effort in this. So thank you for watching, and hopefully you enjoyed.